I was captain of the cheerleading squad, and I graduated in 2002 and met a man and got married right away. I was 18 and he introduced me to methamphetamines at the time. I mean, I thought I was gonna be like everybody else, go to college, I would, get married, have a family, all of that. I didn't know that I would be married to somebody that didn't want the best thing for me. I didn't know, anything about drugs. The first time, it felt good. It was something that, that I enjoyed, but it was obviously good because that's why people do it. About 5 years into it, we're trying to get clean off of methamphetamines. I lose a house, everything I have. I didn't realize what grasp it can take on somebody. So I'm already down the rabbit hole, so far down. In 8 years, I'm trying to get clean, and I'm at that time a junkie. I had no idea. They weren't sound decisions that I was making. So I got clean off of meth in Minnesota, but what happened was he was in a motorcycle accident, and we went to the doctors, and I was leaving the ER with his prescription myself, told to go to a vending machine that printed out narcotics. This is years ago, and it was already mainstream on the streets, set up that way. Doing the opioids, it made me feel like I could just lose myself. I didn't have to worry about grief. I didn't have to worry about pain. I didn't have to worry about feelings of embarrassment. I could just take a pill, and for that amount of time, I felt like I was in power, like I could do anything. I started out with going to the doctor for back pain, things like that, and taking prescribed medications.
For real back pain or trying to?
For real back pain. But there was also manipulation of him having me go do it. There was, no, you need to go get the drugs, basically. And that's what we did. We'd just go from doctor to doctor, ER to ER, and that was my job, was to get up and use, to make sure that we were high all day. And it starts out slow, just a few here and there, and then all of a sudden I'm taking 5 at a time, and then all of a sudden the doctors won't see me anymore because they start to catch on. A pharmacist starts to catch on to it. So they try and, do something. So we get blacklisted at all the pharmacists because they can see that that's all we're getting. And then just like any other drug, you just start going to where it's at, which is black market streets. Anywhere we could get it. He had overdosed and died, the husband, after 8 years. So the coroner called me and said that there was lines of pills sitting out. So I knew that he loved drugs more than me. Well, we both did, that they were sitting there waiting, so it was an accident. His lungs got full of fluid and he just didn't wake up. Yeah, I still didn't even get it. I didn't get it. So I go through the funeral, I go through everything, and I'm taking more pills. So this time I'm up to the big time stuff, Oxycontin. I am snorting up pills now by myself, and nobody around me understood or knew what to do. The one thing that I probably feel the worst about was knocking on people's houses just to go and get pain medication. Not even knowing who they were, just going door to door. That's how bad.
For them, or you asked to use the
restroom?
No,
right, you asked to use the restroom, and you go in, and you look at the medicine cabinet. I mean, it's just, that's probably the worst I feel bad about, that I haven't made amends on, One of the biggest things was the result of my car accident. I had stolen pills from my brother-in-law, methadone, and early in the day I had already taken Norcos, things like that. Percocets, morphine. Morphine that day is what I took in the morning. And I was taking 100, 200, 300 milligrams. It didn't matter. So in the morning I had taken at least a couple 100 milligrams of morphine. And then I go to my sister's and take the methadone, which comes at any time, the high does. But I didn't care. I didn't even, I'm just kind of floating through life, not knowing what's going on or who I'm affecting. So I drive down the road, and I lost control of the car, but this is where I don't remember. So all of the rest of it's told from the people involved in the accident and my mom. I just fell asleep. And so what I did was I had a dog with me, so I caught the dog like this, and then the vehicle rolled down the freeway by New Plymouth exit, about 5 times down the freeway, up the on-ramp and back down. There was a gentleman working late that night, heard the accident, came and knocked on the window, which is what I remember, and then I had passed out again. And then I had woken up to a woman in the car with me saying that everything would be okay, that it's going to be fine, and then I had passed out again. I find out later that the women that had came behind me, that were driving behind me, are 2 nurses.
What are the odds?
Right? Like, how does that happen to me? Why do I deserve it? 3 or 4 days later, I wake up in the hospital, and the doctor asked me, "Why do you have methadone in your system?" I'm an addict, so I'm not going to tell the truth, right? I mean, that's my immediate reaction. So I had continued to lie.
What'd you say?
I just said, "I don't know what you're talking about." I mean, obviously, the pills were stolen. I'm flying down the freeway. So it was obvious that I had taken them, but I had denied that I did. So I go home with 300 Norcos in a bottle. 2 days later, they're gone. My mom said when she saw the x-ray, it looked like tiny little pieces of bone. It was just, my elbow was shattered. The elbow was shattered from the impact of the airbag and the door, that when I had grabbed the dog, that it just shattered everything. And my lungs were shook loose. I slept sitting up for a couple of months. Ruined a car that wasn't mine. Destroyed relationships. So I gave up. I got really depressed, and my arm got stuck like this because I wouldn't do the physical therapy. I wouldn't do anything because I didn't care. What was the point? I was going to get high because now it hurt. Now it really hurts. So I'm out. Where would I go? I go out to who I know has them, and went and got them. More morphine that I had originally taken that morning. During that 3 days, I had taken money from my mom, and I had never done that before. And it wasn't large amounts of money, but it was money that I took. And that really made me feel bad. In the whole world, if anything did, that I hurt her. Not that I cared about myself, or that I couldn't feel my arm anymore, or that I had lost a husband that didn't care about me. I mean, I didn't care about any of that. So I called my mom, and I told her what was going on, and I was scared. I was so scared because I didn't even know rehab existed. That's how, sheltered from it I was. But I knew that what I was doing was wrong. And so for a few more years, 2 more years, I continued to use. I had gone through another surgery. And that's when I had gone to my mom to get clean. I mean, she knew, I think she knew. But what can she do? I'm forever grateful to her. She told me to go home and sit on the steps. And so I went home, and we packed a bag, and I still didn't want to go. I couldn't do it. The unknown, that's the scariest thing in the world. I went to the Port of Hope and did a 90-day treatment. And all I did was cry like this, and that was shame. I was so ashamed. I lost 10 years. I was going to lose my arm, and I didn't care. I didn't care about anything. So I detoxed which is the most painful thing in the world. I was sick for weeks. I felt like my soul was being ripped out of me. I was in constant pain. I felt like bugs were crawling on me. I could see things, hear things. I was puking all the time, and I didn't have anything to eat, so just dry heaving. You're not in there alone, so you're dealing with other people going through the same thing. But she called every night and made sure that I was okay, and I got a letter every day. And what I learned was everybody else didn't. Everybody didn't get letters every day. Their parents didn't call. Nobody came to visit them. And they told me that one of us would stay clean. We wouldn't use. The rest of us will use again and again. And I just felt at that time, which is not the day I went in, it was days later, days after I had detoxed and have been doing work and learning tools, that I had decided that I'm going to be the one. It became my day, my coin out day, so I got to go home and everyone was there. All the women in my family, my grandma. So that, I knew I could do it. And then I started to actually hear the birds. And that was one of the biggest things, that you don't feel anything and you can't hear the birds. You can't smell or see the beautiful things in the world. And so that to me was the biggest thing, was hearing birds.
You mean compared to when you were using?
Yeah, I didn't care. I didn't care about the birds. I didn't care about seeing pretty things and family. You had asked me if I had any pictures when I was using, and I said, Mom, I don't have any pictures. She said, you weren't worried about taking pictures, you were worried about using. I didn't know I'd wake up the next day and it's 10 years later. And I have to relearn how to use my arm. And so I did the 90-day treatment, and I had to learn how to live life again. So it was May 9th. Was the last day I used, so I celebrate from May 9th to May 10th, because that moment in time is important to me, and it's shame, and that's part of what you learn to get past, is shame, because I don't think anyone should be ashamed to want to be alive and be happy. And then there's Marley. She's 9 months. She's always happy, and yeah, joy. Marley is joy. You can't not be happy, but around her, so that's good. She's the product of my recovery for sure. She definitely is. She's what I've worked hard for. She is definitely a motivation, and I hope to teach her so she can see it coming, and she doesn't have to learn like I did. So it just shows me I can be a good person. I can live in society and do everything that everybody else can, and I can not use. I can wake up and not use. I can wake up and not have to find money to go use. I don't have to worry anymore.